Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the UGAsports.com Quick Take. This is your host, Jason Butt. All right. Happy Tuesday. We are just a few more days away from the annual Georgia-Florida game, or as I like to still call it, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It should have never gone away from that, if you're asking me, because the festivities that continue to take place in Jacksonville are that of a world's largest outdoor cocktail party. It's a bunch of shenanigans. It's a great time. It's something that Georgia students, Florida students always will remember for the rest of their lives, and hopefully they do so while staying safe. All that said, there has been a lot of talk, really, in the last few years, but I feel like there's been a lot more in recent days, or maybe the past week or so, really since Kirby Smart was asked about it last week, about the future of the game in Jacksonville. This has been a game that's been playing down there between the two teams since 1933. There's a lot of history, only twice, and it was because of the stadium renovations there in the mid-90s. Only twice has this game not been played in Jacksonville since 1933. So it's a big deal to the city. It's a big revenue booster every year to have Georgia, Florida come to town. I mean, for television purposes, it is an amazing aesthetic where you have the split stadium, half red and black, half orange and blue. It's Oklahoma, Texas. You get the similar feel in terms of a neutral stadium, but you don't really get that same vibe anywhere else in any other rivalry in terms of having two teams go to a neutral site and just high stakes, the crowd being as into it. I mean, I say that I'm probably biased, having been from Georgia, attending Georgia, and I've never been to the Red River rivalry, but it just feels like, and maybe it's just because of recency bias, like it just feels like Georgia, Florida has meant so much more, and in the overall grand scheme of things, not to mention just the whole what it means for college football as a whole, and what the SEC has brought to the table in terms of its conference superiority and et cetera. I could go on and on and on. So Jacksonville, what's the future? To me, it seems like you would just from the outside, it would seem that if there was ever a time for this game to end in Jacksonville, this would be it. And I say that because both schools, both Georgia and Florida, on Monday released a statement and about the game. And for context, this game will go through 2023 in Jacksonville. That's the contract with the city of Jacksonville. But there is an option to extend the game into 2024 and 2025 on this particular contract. So both schools could have easily gone ahead and extended everything, but it seems like they want to wait and take their time before making that final decision. And here's the quote both schools came up with to discuss the matter. The annual game between our two universities is an important tradition. At this time, both programs are focused on our current seasons. Typically, both schools begin conversations regarding future games in the series as the last contracted game nears. We anticipate following that timeline. When those discussions take place, we will consider a multitude of factors, including tradition, finances, future SEC scheduling models with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, and what is best for both schools' football programs overall. Now, that last part is what it really all comes down to, because there's two factors at play. One, money. This game is great in terms of what they are able to get from the SEC. From the city of Jacksonville to be able to play the game. So they would make more money overall by keeping this game in Jacksonville. So that was always something former AD Greg McGarity was big on, and why he was an advocate for keeping the game in Jacksonville. When he was the AD, it was never going to leave that city. That said, Kirby Smart, as the head football coach, has been on the record for years now as saying he would prefer this game to be a home and home. And he was asked last week, and here's what he had to say. Quote, there's really quality benefits to both. I get it. You want to make a story. You need a story. Everybody wants to talk about it. It's not a big debate for me. It's been it's been made really big by the media because they've made it out to be a really big deal. I enjoy the pageantry of going down there and playing. I enjoyed playing there as a player. I enjoy tradition. I enjoy all those things. When it comes down to it, there's a very, very basic element of everything that comes back to, number one, money, and number two, recruiting and having good players. Now, that's the big part right there. Recruiting and having good players. Kirby continues, I firmly believe that we'll be able to sign better players by having it as a home and home because we'll have more opportunities to get them to campus. But I also think there's a financial factor that factors into that. With having the game there and being able to make more money for the university possibly there, you have to weigh both those and make really good decisions. So the ultimate compromise, if you look at it from that perspective, would be you would do a home and home and a neutral site. That would be the ultimate compromise. Jacksonville would hate it, but they would at least get the game every 3 years, and then Georgia and Florida would get a home and home, and be able to every 3 years have another recruiting day on campus. I don't know if that's going to be the factor. You look at Kirby Smart's quote from last week, and he obviously sets it up like deflecting it, but he put his point. He put his main point out there: recruiting and getting good players. There's no head coach in college football that wants his program to take a back seat to recruiting and getting good players. For this game in Jacksonville, they can finally have recruits come to the game, but they can't really do anything with them. And I know that was a point of contention that Kirby Smart brought up in yesterday's press conference. And I totally get what he's saying there, because like, what's the point if a recruit can come to a game, but you can't really do what you need to do? This is what he had to say yesterday about that. We're allowed to use tickets, but we can't host them. We can't do anything. So I never understand. What would we do with them? We can't legally see them. We can't talk to them. We can't host them or visit with them. We can say there's a ticket at the gate, enjoy the game. That's really all we can do. We'll do that. We'll have some kids that go to the game. So yeah, in the end, it comes down to what Kirby Smart wants. It's pretty obvious that AD Josh Brooks is going to more so side with Kirby. I would envision. I don't think this will be we're keeping the game in Jacksonville hard line, kind of the way it was under McGarity, even though, Josh Brooks came from the McGarity tree and learned a lot under him and was kind of a protege, if you will. But you just get the feeling that if Florida wants to move this game to a home and home, if that's Florida's stance long term, that this is the best chance or best shot that this will happen. And I'll give you my thoughts on this real quick before we close. And I've enjoyed going to the game in Jacksonville. I think it's a unique college football experience. It's been some of my favorite memories from college, even young adulthood, came from that game and going down there and just having the interaction, with the two fan bases coming together and just acting absurd with one another. I've always had positive experiences at that, so I don't want to say anything negative, about the debauchery and craziness that goes on. But at the same time, I think I would prefer for this to be a home and home, and I think it's selfishly, I've never seen a game at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, and I think a lot of Florida fans would say the same. They've never seen a game at Sanford Stadium unless you went to those games in the 90s, or if you just went to a random game. But if you were, if you're a Georgia fan and you're going to Georgia games and you're going on the road to see them, that's the one stadium you miss every year in the SEC East, every 2 years in the SEC East. And I just think that there is while the game in Jacksonville offers that unique perspective, having Florida in a high stakes environment in Sanford or having Georgia in a high stakes environment in the Swamp, I think overall for the game, that does more just in terms of the high pressure moments, in terms of what a fan base can do for its team on that particular Saturday, there's something to be said about home field advantage. And I kind of lean towards getting rid of the game in Jacksonville from a fan's perspective. Now I understand that $4 million a year is going to be a lot of money that's left on the table, and where do they make that money up? So ultimately, I do wonder if this will be a compromise situation where it's a home and home and neutral every 3 years. That would be my guess as to if they decide to compromise on it. But at the same time, knowing how Kirby Smart operates, having covered him and just seeing how his what he said through the media, I would think his preference is to not even have the neutral site game. I wouldn't be surprised if behind closed doors this is advocated to move on. It's been great, 1933 to 2023. What is that? 90 years minus 2 of Georgia, Florida, and Jacksonville, and call it an era and go to home and home, and that would be what I would think. But I do wonder. I do think there's an outside chance that they're able to get this game in Jacksonville every 3 years. But that's just my opinion on the matter, what I see, and how interesting this whole debate is. Once again, leading up into this ever important Georgia-Florida rivalry game, where the number one Bulldogs will take on the Gators this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. on CBS. And with that in mind, this episode of the Quick Take, which really didn't go so quick, will come to a close. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't, please like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Go to the UGAsports.com dog vent and join. If you have not yet, you will not be disappointed. It is the best Georgia message board and place to be on the internet, on the World Wide Web, interwebs, however you want to call it. And with that, you guys have been awesome. I have been Jason Butt. Y'all take care and have a great Tuesday.